Welcome back to the Knife Studio. In this video, I'm going to find out my blade has a fatal crack in it. So stick around to the end of the video where we're going to do some destructive testing on it and see how she holds up. In the last video, we got this 5,000 layer feather pattern blade forged out, rough ground, and heat treated and left it in the tempering oven. We also started working on the pommel nut and got that shaped up and heat treated as well. If you want to see everything we've done on this knife up to this stage, then check out part 1 and 2. I'm jumping right back in with these blades, and we need to get the final grinding done on them. So far, the rough grinding's been done before heat treat, but I leave a good amount of grinding to do after the blades are heat treated as well. I like to leave everything a little extra thick in case it warps or anything. It can help deal with that after the heat treatment. After a little 36 grit grinding and then some 120 grit, it's time to start putting the convex edge onto the blade. Both of these blades are going to be mostly flat ground with the last little bit being convex, and that just adds some extra strength in and makes it so I can make the sharpened edge really fine, but yet have a good strong edge at the same time. Thank you for joining me today. This is episode 182 of Man Stares at Blade. Already lost some of its stick. Almost was sticky enough. Oh, it's about to let go and break the tip. Get these two bad boys sharpened up. Be able to test them, make sure the heat treat is good. It's always a little bit scary, but you gotta test them because we're making functional art. So testing is part of that function. Otherwise, it's just art. I'm gonna sharpen both these blades up on about a 22-degree angle and get them nice and hair-popping sharp before we start doing our performance test. It's really important to test your work to make sure that the function part of functional art is there, because without the function part, it would just be art, and that's only half the story for me. I love the function and the artistic side of knife making. I'm gonna test both of these blades by chopping through a 2x4 with each one, and also going through a good sized knot with each one as I do that chopping. Turning the duct tape around that way actually worked really well. Normally these things are so hard to hang on to, and that actually made it so it didn't slide around in my hand at all. Still hurts your wrist a little bit chopping that much with such a tiny blade. Better check and make sure it's still sharp. The Hunter held up nice, popping hair right off my leg, no problem. I'm gonna do the same test with the Fighter, although it's much easier because the Fighter's quite a bit heavier, so it flies through that 2x4. We just got a special package in from the UK. It's from Paul Thornton, and that's all I know, except he said that it's not knife related. I have no clue what could be in here. I mean, the box is very light. It's marked fragile all over it, but it looks like it took a little bit of a beating even though it's marked fragile. Let's get this thing opened up and find out. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so delicious. The front of it, there's some little points right here, and there's kind of a triangular shape, and then it's a dome up here. Okay, you starting to get my drift? It's kind of feeling familiar. Yep. Go right up here next to this one. So guys, I was looking at this thing some more. This thing's handmade, and it's got a lot of little intricate details on it. It's got like this really cool metal, expanded metal mesh here, and these little metal spikes on these little points coming out here. And you can see from the inside that it's like fiberglass, all molded and everything. And the paint has like brush strokes and it's got little wear marks and everything. This thing's really cool. Make sure you go over and check out Paul's other stuff over at Skunk Works Props on Instagram. He's got some really cool like full-size helmets and stuff on there that he's made. I particularly found one that was a clone trooper that had like battle damage and it looked like it was welded back together and stuff. Was super cool looking. Thanks, Paul. This thing's really cool. And now back to the knives. Both knives went through the performance testing unscathed. We're able to shave really well after the 2x4 chopping and going through those knots. It's time to move on to the final grinding of these blades. Now keep in mind, up to this stage, I still didn't know that there was a crack on the edge of the fighter. I'm about to find the crack though, because I'm going to do some horizontal grinding to clean up my plunges, and that's going to really make that crack in the edge show up. So I was over there grinding on the plunge areas of this fighter blade, and I noticed a little tiny line right here that goes up about 3/16 of an inch. I was a little scared that it was some kind of a little crack though. So I spent a lot of time under the microscope trying to figure out if it was a crack or if it was just a little ghost line from one of those tears we had earlier, like a weld that was solid but not like the prettiest looking weld ever. Well, it turns out I etched the blade just real quick in ferric chloride and then looked at it under the microscope, and I can clearly see now that that line isn't going with the pattern. It actually goes straight across some layers, so it's actually a crack. You could still get an 1.5 inch wide blade out of it if we ground the crack off. Like I could ground it off and still have a perfectly fine functional blade, but the problem with that is the feather pattern is going to be off center. And I like it to be off center but towards the spine, but if I ground all the crack off, it'd be off center towards the blade edge, and that wouldn't be acceptable. Also, I wanted that little extra width and weight and everything for this frame handle, because the frame is going to be kind of heavy, so I wanted the blade to be a little bit larger and beefy too. So there's multiple reasons why this blade's not going to work for the project, and we got to definitely start over on it. Still make a really gorgeous blade, so we're probably going to give this thing away to one of you guys if you wanted to get this thing and finish it out, because it's going to be really pretty. The only problem with it is going to be the feather pattern slightly off center, but other than that, it's going to be really nice looking. This thing's got over 5,000 layers in it. The crack goes up about 3/16 of an inch. I'm going to be giving away this blade, so make sure you watch to the end for instructions on how you could get it. Probably going to take a full week to get a brand new billet made and get another blade forged out, rough ground, heat treated, final ground, tempered, and up to this stage again. So I'll see you in a week. It has been 1 week. I have a brand new blade here. This thing's up to the stage the other one was at, and it is looking really good so far. Also, this thing's been performance tested and everything, and it held up really well. So let's get back over to the grinder and get into it. It's time to get this blade hand sanded. I'm gonna take it up to 600 grit, and then I'm gonna go grind in the clip, clean up the spine, the bottom of the ricasso, and the sides of the ricasso. I'm cleaning up the choil area and the bottom of the ricasso with a slightly worn out 120 grit belt. It's kind of too late to do anything about it now, but I'm just checking to see if the edge still looks centered with the ricasso, and it is. I'm hand sanding the spine of the blade and also the bottom of the ricasso / choil area, so we can move on to getting the ricasso ready for the guard to be fit up later. I use a file guide to hold the blade securely and square with the milling machine, so I can mill down the tang area where the guard fits up to the ricasso for a good fit later. Then I move over to the belt grinder for cleaning up the tang with a 120 grit belt, and to also get those little tiny spots on the top and bottom of the ricasso that I don't get on the milling machine. It's time to jump in and do some destructive testing on that blade that's got a crack in it. I thought it'd be really fun to do some stuff that I don't normally do on my blades because I don't want them to normally get destroyed, but with this one, I'm not really worried about it, so we can see how much it'll take before we can start chipping the edge. So I'm gonna whale on some antler. This stuff is hard. It is really hard. And I've used this for tests in the past, but I'm normally a lot more delicate with it. It holds up really well with the light chopping on the antler and then some medium chopping. And then when I really start giving it the hammer and chopping through it fast, that's when we start getting some chips on the edge. After we're done with this testing, I'm gonna grind the crack out of the edge and also any of the chips that we make. And then I'm gonna give this knife away over on Instagram for somebody to finish out. So if you wanna have the chance to win this knife, head over to Instagram and follow the directions there to win it. And I wanna see you finish it out, put a cool handle on it, and get the blade finished out. Here's what the antler did after really chopping hard on it. And frankly, I'm surprised the chips were as small as they were. I was kind of expecting bigger chunks to pop out because I was wailing on that antler hard. Next, I thought I'd cut a nail in half and see how that hurt the edge. Start with a small nail that's about a 1/16 inch in diameter, and it did nothing to the edge. Then we move on to one that's quite a bit larger. It's about 150 thousandths of an inch thick. And again, it barely even brushed the edge. You can even see a little bit of a mark it left where the metal rubbed against the blade. It turns out chopping on that antler was a much harder test on the edge than hammering the blade through a nail. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. I had a sinking suspicion in my soul.